Hustle culture is bullshit. It's for insecure people who don't know their own worth to reinforce the belief that more hours and extreme sacrifice is how you create more in your life. But the women who are actually building wealth externally and internally, they're not working harder than you. They aren't grinding to prove themselves. They have a completely different relationship with what they believe they're capable of creating. And that belief is everything. Welcome to video 2 of the Broke versus Abundant Energy series, where I show you how shifting the way you think and make decisions is what actually allows your external and internal abundance to expand. Because wealth and abundance is not just about money. It's about who you are and how you show up in your life. And how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you don't believe in how amazing you are, it's affecting your bank account too. It is all connected. And today we are talking about self-worth. So by the end of this video, you're going to understand why you keep accepting less than what you want, how your self-worth is directly related to your money, and how to start shifting into abundant energy. And if you're new here, I'm Angie Hawkins, the Inner Glow Coach, and I help you glow up into the version of you whose wealth in life is always expanding so that your life feels as good as it looks. And I do this work because I see so many amazing, beautiful, powerful women who are asleep to their own power because they're afraid of being too much or caring about what other people think. No. We're not doing that anymore. If you're here, you know that you're meant for more, and I am here to help you shine. And also stay until the end because I think I have 2 action steps today, but these are practical action items that you can take in your day-to-day life that will instantly show you where your self-worth is at and how to start shifting into abundant energy. And all of my videos have action steps at the end, because information is everywhere. This is not just about information. This is about taking massive action in your day-to-day life. And that is how we go from knowing to glowing. Broke energy says, I need to hustle and earn to have more. Abundant energy says, I'm the kind of person who creates more. And broke energy and self-worth looks like settling for less than what you actually want, overgiving, over-explaining, overcompensating, being afraid to ask for more, whether it's money, time, or even respect, because deep down, you don't even believe that you're deserving of it, or you're constantly questioning if you're too much or asking for too much. And on the surface, this could look like you're being the nice girl, or another one of my favorite terms, and by favorite, I mean I absolutely hate it because I used to be this way, is calling yourself low maintenance, because low maintenance is not being easygoing. It's having very low standards for your life. And underneath all of this is that you don't even believe that more is even available to you. So why don't you value yourself? And this can be a hard subject to talk about because it can bring up a lot of shame. I struggled with low self-worth for many decades, and I know so many other people who have struggled with this. Most of my clients come to me struggling with low self-worth. And I could talk all day about some of the examples in my life, but I'm going to touch on a few of the main topics of how this showed up in my life. One is low quality, well, let's face it, toxic romantic relationships. I had situationships, boyfriends that would cheat on me and treat me like shit, and I would stay because that's what I believed I deserved. And again, going back to low maintenance, and I can go on a rant about this, so I'll try to keep it short, but I called myself low maintenance because I didn't want to be the girlfriend who nagged her boyfriends. No, I had 0 standards and I didn't respect myself. Another way this showed up in my life, I had low quality platonic friends. And in hindsight, a lot of my friends were jealous because they would get all weird and snarky if I was succeeding or had a win in my life, which Jealousy is related to a broke mindset. So if I remember, I'll touch on that more at the end. But because my self worth was so low, someone else being jealous of me wasn't even in the realm of my possibility. So that realization wasn't something that I had until much later in my life. All I knew that my friends were not very loving and supportive. But again, that's what I thought I deserved. Another way this showed up in my life is, surprise, money. For the first several jobs that I had, and again, if you don't know my story, I am an entrepreneur now, but for a while I was blindly following the rules of society. So I went to college, got a degree, and I did have a career in corporate America for a long time, almost 20 years. And the first several jobs that I had out of college, I never negotiated my salary because I barely even believed I deserved what they were offering me. And I remember the first time I did negotiate my salary, I think if I wasn't 30, I was in my 30s, so it was pretty late in the game. But even the first time I did it, it wasn't because I believed I deserved it. It was more of a game to see if I could get away with it because I didn't even believe I deserved it. Another way this showed up was I felt really guilty spending money on myself. So even once I started making good money, I hardly ever went on vacation because I felt so weird and guilty about spending money on myself because I didn't believe I was deserving of it. And lastly, related to income, I felt like I had to hustle and work hard because I didn't believe I was naturally deserving of it by being a talented, amazing person. And I'm going to go a layer deeper on my self-worth issues because I think you'll recognize yourself in some of the things I just said, but this can really show up in sneaky and unsuspecting ways. And I know some of the things I'm about to say are probably going to seem obvious that I didn't respect myself or didn't value myself, but when you are a certain thing, you can't really identify it. And I know that doesn't make sense, but for example, whenever someone advertises that they are a certain way, so for example, I've heard people be like, well, I'm a nice person. And that immediately is a red flag to me because if you are a certain way, you just are that way. You don't identify with being that thing. So it can be really tricky when it comes to low self-worth because you just think these things are part of who you are. But in hindsight, all of the things I'm about to mention are really huge red flags of how low my self-worth was. And again, this isn't to talk about myself. This is for hopefully to help you recognize the subtle ways that these things show up in your life, that low self-worth shows up in your life. So one of the ways I did not value or respect myself was my fingernails. I used to use them as tools. And this may seem simple or petty or whatever, but think about it. Your fingernails are like a living, growing organism on your body. And I would use them to open cans or whatever. I would use them as tools. And I wasn't respecting my body. And the reason I'm bringing up such it seems very simplistic and petty, but going back to what I'm going to be repeating in all of these videos in this series, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you're not respecting your fingernails, you're not respecting your body and you're not respecting yourself emotionally. Trust me, that's how it works because everything is connected. And if you're not respecting your fingernails, you're probably not respecting your money either. And again, I'm speaking from my own personal experience, but also the women that I've worked with. Another way this showed up was my hair. So for example, as you may see, I have crazy hair. It's naturally wavy, whatever. I used to blow dry it, flat iron it, use all this heat styling, which is actually very bad for your hair. And so when I finally started respecting myself, I started taking care of my hair. I don't even own a hair dryer. I don't use any heat styling on it. When I go in the ocean, because I surf almost every day, salt water is not good for your hair, but I put avocado oil in it to protect it from the ocean. So I take care of my hair because I value my hair because technically this is not living, but it's part of who I am. Another way this showed up is my skin. And if you've seen any of my other videos, I talked about how when I was little, my mom was obsessed with my skin and she would always pick my zits and blackheads, which is not good for your skin. But I developed that habit and it became something that I continued to do way into adulthood. So I didn't respect my skin because I was always picking at it. And also when I was younger, I did not wear sunscreen, or at least not regularly or consistently. So I was not protecting my skin. And one of the more major ways it showed up by not respecting myself was my body. I used to, and I am going to pause to close my window because it is getting way too windy in here. Okay, so I think I finished talking about skin. The other way that I didn't value myself was my physical body. I had a six-pack abs, but I was starving myself. I was beating myself up, working out, and that was both weightlifting in the gym and running. I ran marathons. I ran at least 40 miles a week, and I hardly ever had a rest or recovery period. It was always go, 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 and I was torturing myself. I didn't respect my body, and that ended up manifesting into an autoimmune disorder, which I think it was both the physical exercise and the emotional stress from the other situations I was putting myself in from not respecting myself. But think about it. An autoimmune disorder is literally your body attacking itself, which is a perfect metaphor for what I was doing to my own life. And the last thing I'll briefly mention, because I can't really talk about it here because it's so heavily censored, but I totally disrespected myself in the ultimate act of self-loathing because that's how much I did not respect myself. And so my whole point of all of this is I didn't even feel like good things, including happiness, were even available to me. I thought I had to earn and hustle and torture myself, and I would stay in the cycle of being burned out. So I thought that even feeling good wasn't even available to me. And the short version of the story of why I was even like this, I grew up in a home with emotionally unavailable parents, and they were the kind of parents that stayed together for the kids, which really meant they were staying together for themselves. Sorry, that sounded jaded and sarcastic, and it was. But our home was so unloving and disconnected that it did more emotional harm than good. And I do think my parents loved me, but they treated me like I was a burden. So as an adult, I can understand what that means. I don't mean it's right. I can understand it. But as a child, to make sense of the situation, I created the belief that I didn't deserve to be loved. I truly didn't even think that I had value as a human being. So I keep saying that I had low self-worth, but I actually think that's an overstatement because I would go as far as to say I had zero self-worth. And also, if you've read my book, Running in Slippers, you already know some of the horrific examples of how this played out in my life. And hopefully none of this has played out in your life, but my whole point in describing these is so that you can see how maybe you're sabotaging your self-worth in your own life. So if you're watching this, I don't know everybody's limiting beliefs, obviously, and there's probably a variety, but it's probably similar to, I don't deserve to be loved, I'm not important, I'm worthless, or something along those lines. And it most likely was developed in your early childhood, or maybe even as a teenager. So you may be wondering, how is this related to money? How is low self-worth related to money? And the answer is, your life will always reflect what you believe that you're worthy of. Not what you want, not what you say you want, what you actually believe you deserve. So if you keep finding yourself in situations where you're underpaid, you're overlooked for the promotion, or you set low values for jobs, meaning they're low paying, or they're environments that don't treat you the way you deserve to be treated, which by the way affects your work performance and earning potential, none of that is a coincidence. It's a reflection of your current self-worth. Abundant energy and self-worth sounds like, I know what I want and it's available to me. I deserve good things. I deserve to be happy. I deserve money. I deserve to have it all. I'm not too much for wanting more. I trust myself to have more. And the bottom line is that it's all about being available for more, because the version of you in abundant energy decides what she's available for and takes massive action toward it. Have you ever known someone who has no problem applying for a job that they are nowhere near qualified for? Because one, they were bold enough to apply anyway. Two, they are certain that if they are hired, that they can figure out how to do the job. They do not give AF about the obstacles. And that is abundant energy in action. And that is exactly how you become a magnet for abundance. Because when you're radiating in that energy of bold, aligned action, trust me, your life will respond. That's how those people get hired. Because I don't know if you've ever been in a position of hiring people, but you want the person who's eager and ready to figure things out. And when they're in that energy, you do not give a shit about their resume or their actual skills. You want someone who's going to show up and do it. So my point is, well, and actually, one more thing I want to say, this isn't just about money and career, because you're also, when you're in that energy, you're going to start attracting friends that are better aligned for you. You're going to start trusting yourself more because you're constantly proving to yourself that you can handle it, which, by the way, is related to video one of this series, which is about self-trust. So if you missed that, make sure you watch it after this one. And I forget what I was going to say. Oh, I know. I wanted to touch on jealousy. I don't remember why I even brought it up before, but I do remember what I wanted to say about it. And when I say this, I'm speaking from my own experience of me being the one who's jealous. Jealousy stems from insecurity. So, for example, in my Against the Grain series, I talked about how my parents thought I was quote unquote too much as a little girl, so I never felt safe to be fully expressed. So when I saw other people being fully expressed, I would get all jealous and judgmental about it. But it was because I was insecure about my own lack of self-expression. But abundant energy sees jealousy for what it is, and what it is misplaced inspiration. What I mean by that, so now when I see something and get that initial hit of jealousy, I ask myself, what do I see in them that I want to be? Because I can actually use that as inspiration to show up just like they are too. And I was going to get into the action steps, and I am, but I think I'm going to make this an action step because I've done a lot of inner work on myself, but I still get these pangs of jealousy. So I'm going to tell you how I actually incorporate this into my life and use it to take action. So let's just call this action step number 1. The next time you feel a pang of jealousy, and this can even be something you see on social media, ask yourself, what do I see in them that I want to be? And take one action to move yourself toward it. So, for example, and I'm going to use kind of a crazy example just so you can see what this looks like in action, but maybe you see a travel influencer who's literally jet setting all over the world and you feel jealous. Okay, so I'm not telling you to stop everything you're doing and go into debt traveling the world, but I do challenge yourself to ask yourself, what is underneath that? For example, are you jealous of their freedom of time? And if that's the true thing underneath it, how can you give yourself that same time freedom? Because we do have more agency over our lives than it seems sometimes. So for example, when I quit corporate America to become an entrepreneur, in my mind, I was like, oh, I'm going to have so much more time freedom. Spoiler alert, that is not true. But I did realize that there were ways for me to create more time freedom in my day, which I do now. So it is possible. You do have to get creative sometimes. Or another example, maybe you see someone with a nice handbag. Maybe you see a woman who has a nice Chanel handbag and you're jealous. But think to yourself, because it's usually not about the thing. What kind of person is she showing up to be like, what kind of person has a Chanel handbag? She either gets shit done and earns her own money. She either finds a way to find a provider husband that can buy it for her. Maybe even she refurbishes old handbags. Maybe that's an old handbag that she bought at some secondhand sale and she refurbished it herself, which is another thing about social media. You never know the backstory. So, but my point is, be the kind of person that shows up and finds a way to get a Chanel handbag. And it doesn't have to be in the same way as the other person. My point is, you're using that other person as inspiration for you to step into the identity of who you want to be. So that is action item number 1. Action item number 2, which is all about self-worth and money. Because the thing that a lot of people don't understand is money isn't a transaction. And if you do view money as a transaction, that tells me everything about your relationship with money. Because money is a relationship, and that mindset shift alone will change your life. So if you're not feeling worthy of money, it's a similar type dynamic to if you're in a relationship and don't feel worthy of your partner. Or even worse, you're in a relationship and you don't feel like your partner is worthy of you. Because in either of those situations, it's not a very healthy relationship, because if you don't feel that your partner is worthy of you, you're probably very resentful. And if you don't feel worthy of your partner, you're probably like constantly being like needy or people pleasing or whatever. And that's not the energy that shows up in a healthy relationship. So for a simple step to start creating a healthy relationship with money, create new reframes for certain habits that you have. So for example, instead of, I have to check my bank account, I have to pay my bills, you can just shift to, I'm building my relationship with money. So when you check your bank account, appreciate the money that you have. Look at your spending without judgment. You move some money into savings, even if it's $5. It's like, you're in the flow of money and taking care of your money and getting into that relationship with money. And more importantly, look at money as something you receive and circulate, not something that you earn and spend. That shift alone will change a lot of things. So action step number 2, just take one simple step to start changing your relationship with money. And action step number 3, set minimum standards for your life, because people with low self-worth have low standards, and it's like this, what's it called? Like confirmation cycle, because then it's like, well, this is all I deserve because that's what I keep getting. But you're playing a role in that because you have low standards for your life. And again, this looks like being low maintenance, because I cannot stress enough how much I hate the word low maintenance, because it's not easygoing. It is having low standards for your life. No, we are not doing that anymore. I used to be that girl, and all it meant is that I didn't value myself and I let people walk all over me. So decide right now what you are unavailable for going forward. So for example, in my own life, I am unavailable for bullshit. So anyone who tries to engage me or drama or petty stuff, I do not engage and I move on with my life. And somewhat related, I do not tolerate, I am unavailable for anything that wastes my time. So even setting one standard in your life, and if you can't think of anything, I highly recommend being unavailable for anything that wastes your time. Trust me, this will dramatically improve the quality of your emotional health. And you deserve that, because you deserve to feel good in your own life. So to recap, because we had 3, we had an unexpected one. Reframe jealousy to inspiration, start building a healthy relationship with money, and set at least one standard for your life. And we talked earlier about limiting beliefs. And if you need help figuring out what your limiting beliefs are, I can offer you a free signature glow session because the G in my glow method stands for Go Back to Your Childhood. And this is a complimentary 60-minute call where we will dig deep into your limiting beliefs and figure out the next right step. Because everyone who I've had this call with has a breakthrough. So when you're ready, apply. The link will be in the description. All you have to do is click on the link. And if you're ready to go deeper, watch the next video, which is video 3 of the Broke versus Abundant Energy series, because we are going to be talking about investing in yourself and why broke energy thinks you need to justify glowing up. So I will see you in video 3.